Hello everyone, welcome to another video. I'm Randy and welcome to 1959. This is the 10th in my series where I go through each year and tell you my favorite album, song, movie, and television series from each year. I started in 1950. The only caveat is that I have to have a physical copy of whatever I choose in my collection to show. And also for the television series, they're only eligible their debut season, even though I'll take the whole series into consideration. And also I'll try to link down below a cut from each of the albums I choose and a cut from the songs. We'll have a link below so you can check them out if you want to. For my favorite album of 1959, before I get into my runners up, I want to recognize some great jazz albums that came out in 1959 that I'm not going to pick, but I do love them. And that's this Louis Armstrong meets Oscar Peterson. Really great reissue. Of course, Oscar Peterson's a great pianist. And Bobby Jasper, the flautist and saxophone player. He's playing the flute here. But yeah, this is self-titled. This is a reissue from France on the Sam record label. Then I've got Charles Mingus, and yeah, the most known jazz album of all time. I only have it on CD, and that's of course Miles Davis, Kind of Blue. So anyway, there goes those. Let's get to my runners up. My third runner up is from Wade Flemons. Self-titled album. He was on the VJ label. He's a fairly unknown R&B soul singer and pianist who had a few marginally successful singles, and this was his only album. A couple of highlights include the self-penned My Baby Likes to Rock and the soulful Here I Stand, which I also have as a 45. But yeah, just an amazing voice. He also had a very short stint with Earth, Wind, and Fire in their beginning years. But yeah, Wade Flemons, check this guy out. He's a really great singer. My second runner-up is Elvis Presley, A Date with Elvis. There you see in his uniform. This was a German reissue. On the RCA label. With this album, they reached back for some of the great 45 Sunsides that had not been available on album at the time, such as Good Rockin' Tonight, Milk Cow Blues, Baby Let's Play House. It also has one of his most beautiful ballads in Young and Beautiful. They scrambled to find material while Elvis was serving in the Army, but this is a great collection. A Date with Elvis. I recommend it highly. My first runner-up is The Genius of Ray Charles on famous Atlantic label. Now, it has some really soulful tunes with big band arrangements. It also has one of my favorite Ray Charles songs in Come Rain or Come Shine. Other highlights include Don't Let the Sun Catch You Crying and Let the Good Times Roll. Great Ray Charles. And my favorite album for 1959 is Howlin' Wolf, Moanin' in the Moonlight. This is the CD that has two albums on it. It has just Howlin' Wolf and Moanin' in the Moonlight, which is the one I'm picking right here. Now this was his debut album. It contains many of his singles, including perhaps his signature tune and Smokestack Lightning. Howlin' Wolf is probably my favorite blues artist, depending on how you classify Bobby Bland. Also has 44, I Asked for Water, She Gave Me Gasoline, and the title, and Moanin' at Midnight. Like I was gonna say the title track, but it's not. Moaning in the Moonlight is the name of the album. Moanin' at Midnight is a song on here. Now for my favorite song of 1959, the third runner-up from Wilbert Harrison His best known tune, Kansas City, leads it off right there. The song was written by Jerry Lieber and Mike Stoller, and it was first recorded actually by Little Willie Littlefield, although it's not on this album right here. You can see him there. Different, I guess it's all the same pose of him. But in 1952, as Casey Loving, it was first called. But it topped the charts with Wilbert Harrison's 1959 version. Some interesting facts about the song are that Lieber and Stoller had never been to Kansas City when they wrote the song. And since the 70s, there has been no 12th Street and Vine, which is referenced in the song. It's a park now. Now, on down 18th and Vine still exists. But yeah, Wilbert Harrison, Kansas City. A lot of people have covered that tune. Now, almost every band that comes through Kansas City has to do it too. My second runner-up is the song that I referenced before from this album, The Genius of Ray Charles, and it's the final tune on here, Come Rain or Come Shine. This was originally written for the Broadway musical St. Louis Woman by Harold Arlen and Johnny Mercer in 1946. Now, you might know Harold Arlen because he wrote the tune Over the Rainbow for the Wizard of Oz movie. But there are quite a few recordings of this song in the 40s and 50s, but it's the Ray Charles version that I love. It was also used in the Martin Scorsese film, King of Comedy, Ray's version. It's a great tune, Come Rain or Come Shine. My first runner-up is from Bobby Darin, and it's the song Beyond the Sea. This was originally a French song entitled La Mer, written by Charles Trenet, and it was translated to English and sang by Bobby Darin, who had some early rock hits, did folk, some crooner songs, and some jazz. He appeared in several movies and had a variety show and died young, unfortunately, out of a heart attack. Yeah, Bobby Darin, Beyond the Sea. Love that song. And my favorite song of 1959 is Island of Love by the group The Shepherds. This is a cool collection of their songs. It's probably, well, to me, it's the greatest doo-wop song of all time. And the Shepherds were a great bridge between doo-wop and R&B and soul as they performed both. Not someone who heard sheep are they named after, because when you'll notice the spelling, they're actually named after Bunky Shepherd, which is a music producer and also a songwriter. They had two great leads, and Murray Eskridge and Millard Edwards, who later went on to the Esquires. And they also had a great guitarist, Kermit Chandler. But yeah, The Shepherds, Island of Love, best doo-wop song ever. Now a couple movies from 1959 that didn't quite make it, but I wanted to recognize. Probably my favorite Western from 1959, Howard Hawks' Rio Bravo, Dean Martin, John Wayne, also Ricky Nelson. And the critically acclaimed Federico Fellini's 8½, a masterpiece. Like I said, these are my favorites, not necessarily the most critically acclaimed. So let's get to it. My, what is it? Third runner-up, Ben-Hur, directed by William Wyler. This is another great epic with Charlton Heston, who was perfect in these. It has one of the best action sequences ever filmed in the chariot race with Heston and former friend Stephen Boyd, who had him sent into slavery. It also works in the story of Jesus with great success. At over 3.5 hours, I remember watching it when I was a kid on television, usually over 2 nights, but yeah, classic Ben-Hur. My second runner-up, and actually one I just rewatched recently, just fantastic. It's Anatomy of a Murder. This is the Criterion Collection edition. What is it? Spine number 600. I guess you must have mentioned that. I don't know. Got a cool booklet inside, like they all do. But great courtroom drama, expertly directed by Otto Preminger, who was himself a law school graduate, although he never practiced. The movie was based on an original case, and it was shot almost entirely on location in Upper Michigan, near where the original case happened. James Stewart gives a wonderful performance as the homespun local lawyer, And George C. Scott also stands out as the high-priced prosecutor. Looks at the problems of the legal system where motives are under scrutiny and facts dubious. Yeah, great movie, Anatomy of a Murder. My first runner-up I have in this Forever Maryland Blu-ray collection, and it's the movie Some Like It Hot, directed by Billy Wilder. If I can get this out of here. This is a really cool set, and there's a nice show of the DVD. Tony Curtis and Marilyn and Jack Lemmon there. But yeah, it's hilarious crime movie farce with Tony Curtis and Jack Lemmon on the run after witnessing a mob murder and dressing up as females to hide, and becomes part of an all-girl band. The two leads are great, and Marilyn Monroe may give her best performance, although from what I understand, Billy Wilder was kind of upset with her because it would take 50 takes sometimes to get a scene correct. But if you're a comedy fan, you need to watch it. It also has one of the great ending lines in movie history. Yeah, Some Like It Hot. And my favorite movie from 1959, and one of my all-time favorite movies, and it's Alfred Hitchcock's North by Northwest in this Alfred Hitchcock Blu-ray collection. That's really great. And this has to be one of Hitchcock's most fun movies to watch. It's action-packed, full of humor, suspense, and the proverbial who can you trust scenario. Cary Grant is superb as one of Hitchcock's best innocent men on the run, who continually uses his wits to survive, often placing himself in more trouble. Eva Marie Saint is also wonderful as the love interest, and is she to be trusted or not as well? And actually, Eva Marie Saint just turned 100, and she's still with us as of this video. Just great storytelling, and Cary Grant's at his most charming in this movie. Alfred Hitchcock's North by Northwest. 1959 was also a banner year for television, and I'm just going to show a few that didn't quite make the grade, but I really like as well. First, there's Riverboat with Darren McGavin and Burt Reynolds, and supposedly they hated each other, which maybe that's why the series didn't last that long. Of course, then the classic Western Bonanza, debuted 1959. Ventures in Paradise, starring Gardner McKay. And Locked Up with MacDonald Carey, who later was on one of the daytime soap operas, but I can't remember which one. Oh, and I almost forgot one here. And The Untouchables debuted 1959. But my third runner-up for favorite series from 1959 is Rawhide, which starred Clint Eastwood. This is an early vehicle for him as a cowhand, Rowdy Yates. It also starred Eric Fleming as the trail boss, Gil Favor. Fleming's career, unfortunately, was tragically cut short as he drowned while filming the adventure program High Jungle in Peru. This was a cool Western that concerned adventures while on a cattle drive, which was kind of unique as far as the Western series was concerned. Yeah, this is seasons 1 through 3, but I have them all. Yeah, Rawhide, Clint Eastwood. My second runner-up, Johnny Staccato. This series starred John Cassavetes as a jazz pianist and private detective. He was the jazz detective, as it shows right here, with scenes often taking place in the jazz club owned by his friend, played by Eduardo Cianelli, who often played bad guys, but he was a good guy in this one. But jazz musicians such as Barney Kessel, Shelley Mann, Milt Holland, Red Norvo, and others could often be seen playing at the club. And for fans of SCTV, the great Canadian series, they parodied the series with Joe Flaherty playing the detective in the parody. But yeah, the jazz detective with John Cassavetes, Johnny Staccato. My first runner-up is Mr. Lucky, starring John Vivian, right there, who had a floating casino on his boat, the Fortuna, a show developed by Blake Edwards. Ross Martin, right there, who you may know for his role in the Wild Wild West TV series, was his friend and cohort Andamo. This was a really fun series, and has a great theme composed by Henry Mancini. I do have the soundtrack album, Mr. Lucky, on the RCA label. Of course, I already had this when I got the series, but they did have a bonus CD in there where you get the soundtrack album too. But yeah, Mr. Lucky, fun series. And my favorite television show from 1959 is The Twilight Zone. This is the definitive edition of the season number 1. My favorite for this year, and I think one of the best TV shows ever. It's an anthology show developed by Rod Serling, which ranged from science fiction, fantasy, supernatural, horror, mystery, often combining all these together. It was a show way ahead of its time and a great influence on other anthology series. Almost every show would leave an impression where you would think about it later, and some of the episodes still remain in my consciousness. Yeah, The Twilight Zone. And that's it for 1959. Please leave some of your favorites down below. I always like seeing those, and often it's something I'd like to check out as well. And see you in 1960. Kind of sad that the 50s are over.